The migrant crisis shows absolutely no signs of abating. Dozens of migrants who were stranded on a sandbank off of the Kent coast after their boat ran aground have been rescued. Now, for those listening on radio, we're showing exclusive footage of a rescue effort which involved a Coast Guard helicopter and several lifeboats. Now, this incident comes as GBNews can reveal the number of migrants crossing illegally from France has now passed 7,000 for the year so far. 7,000. Now, considering the Rwanda bill passed earlier this week in Parliament, is this an early warning sign that the bill isn't working? Because we also, just to provide some balance there, had Ireland saying it is working because they're ending up with the migrants that have come here who are scared about going to Rwanda and therefore end up in Ireland. So is it working or isn't it? Joining me now is former Labour writer and advisor Scarlett Maguire and political commentator Reem Ibrahim. Now, Scarlett, I was with the other Scarlett Maguire last night, so that's going to get very confusing very quickly. But Scarlett, do you think actually do you agree with what Ireland are saying, that actually they're ending up with people going to Ireland because they're worried about being sent to Rwanda? Is that having a deterrent effect already?
Well, obviously, if Ireland are noticing that the number of asylum seekers have come up, then it's true. But as we've seen, it isn't working. It isn't working for lessening people coming over here. It was never going to work. I mean, we're talking that what is it? Just over 300 people might be flown to Rwanda in 12 weeks' time. They're not worried about it. I mean, frankly, there are at least one person a month drowns in the Channel. I mean, and for many of them, they've come across the Mediterranean. These people are desperate, right? The odds, those odds about Rwanda, they don't matter. They're not going to make a difference. If you want to make a difference, you need to sort out the asylum system. Now,
Reem, a lot of viewers will be saying these people aren't desperate in the sense of they're in France, right, which I've been on holiday to France. I've enjoyed wines and cheeses in France, a bit too much in the way of wine. And Same. I didn't feel desperate whilst there. So, do our viewers have a point?
Oh, no, you're absolutely right. And I think that it's really disingenuous to claim that every single person that crosses the Channel illegally is genuinely claiming asylum because they fear for their lives. There is absolutely no reason why somebody should be fearing for their lives in France. Now, there is an understanding about the fact that France has actually taken a lot more illegal migrants than we have. But that doesn't mean that those people that do cross the Channel between France and the UK feel unsafe. They're coming here for many reasons because Britain is a fantastic country.
But as Scarlett says, we need to fix the asylum system in order for people to stop doing this. Labour say they want to open up safe and legal routes elsewhere. Where are you on that? What is the solution to this? Because obviously it's a dangerous thing to do, as we've seen today with that rescue operation. What can be done to actually stop this if it isn't Rwanda?
Well, look, I mean, I actually do agree with Scarlett. I think that the Rwanda policy is a bit of a gimmick. I think that it's politically going to bode quite well. If we can at least get a couple of asylum seekers and get a photograph for Sunak's election campaign, I think that will look really well. I also think it's really disingenuous to start calling Rwanda an unsafe country, or effectively saying that, and we saw in the Telegraph this morning that Cleverly and Dr. Vincent Biruta, who is the foreign minister in Rwanda, they both co-wrote an article effectively saying, Rwanda has made huge strides politically, and we know that the Rwandan genocide had a huge impact economically. About 10% of the population were wiped out in the 90s. But since then, over the last 30 years, Rwanda's GDP has increased by about 8.1%. There are huge strides with regard to Rwanda, and I think it's disingenuous for people like Emmanuel Macron to effectively be saying that the Rwanda policy doesn't align with our values. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the Rwanda policy is actually going to work. I think we just need to tell people they cannot come to this country and deport them elsewhere. Get them out of the country if they are coming here illegally. We cannot allow people to break the law.
Scarlett, what is the Labour response in full then? Because, these safe and legal routes, fine. But what do you do, Scarlett, about those who say, well, I couldn't come here under safe and legal routes, so I need to take an unsafe and illegal route?
There isn't a safe and legal route at the moment. No. OK, so there's no question about it. There is only one way. I mean, unless, you can somehow get into Heathrow and then claim asylum. But basically, there are no safe and legal routes. If we go back to Rwanda, it's actually quite important. Rwanda... It's not Libya. It's not Syria. It's not a terrible country. But this is not a functioning democracy. 99% of the people voted for the president. That means in a proper democracy, you do not get 99%. So there is a lot of people. Britain has allowed Rwandan refugees to stay here, right? About one a month is allowed to claim asylum.
I think that's more so an indictment on our current immigration system than it is of Rwanda.
No, it's not, because actually it's very different. I mean, we have a terrible asylum system. But when you actually get to be decided, right, most people are found not to be OK. But about one person a month from Rwanda, they say, cannot be sent back because they're in fear of their lives. I mean, the US government says, look, I could go on holiday to Rwanda. You could both go on holiday to Rwanda. People go on holiday and see the gorillas. The problem is that if you're an opponent, right? I mean, here, I'm allowed to come on television and say why I think our government is rubbish, right? And it's fine. And you might disagree with me, but nothing will happen to me when I go out. If I said it in Rwanda, I would be in danger. The problem with Rwanda...
I'm North African, half Moroccan, half Egyptian. If I went to Egypt and said anything about the Egyptian government, I'd also probably not be OK.
And I wouldn't send people to Egypt because I do not think it's a safe country.
OK, so I think it's incredibly offensive to sit here and effectively say that an entire African continent is unsafe and that all of these people are unsafe in their own country.
I'm explaining why Rwanda is not a safe country to be sent to, that it doesn't have a functioning democracy, right? And that if you are a political opponent, it is very dangerous.
I'm sorry, but this is such a Western... I will use the word imperialist kind of perspective on other countries, effectively saying that, because your system isn't like our system, it's therefore wrong. And I think that's entirely wrong to mischaracterise these countries across the African nations. They're making huge strides towards economic liberalism.
I'm talking about one free trade, economic, fine. I'm talking about one country.
Well, you mentioned Egypt there as well, though. You wouldn't send people to Egypt. So where do we draw the line, Scarlett? Where do we say, actually, you can't come here from every single nation around the world? Surely you accept that?
No. So we're talking about where we would send people as safe countries, right? No, look. I went after the revolution in Egypt. I went there to help the Social Democratic Party. I couldn't go there anymore because it would be dangerous for them, right? So, I mean, Egypt is repressive. There is absolutely no question. I am not saying the whole of Africa is. I think Morocco's fine. The last time I was in Morocco, I was there for a conference about violence against women. Nobody was complaining in Morocco about it. I am saying that Rwanda does not have a functioning democracy. You might think that all matters is economic. I'm saying it doesn't have a functioning democracy, and the US...
My point primarily is that we can't sit here in a Western country and implement our perspective on what a good country is. Rwanda is perfectly fine for those people to go. Now, again, I think the Rwandan policy is probably going to be incredibly ineffective because it's a waste of British taxpayer money.
At £2 million a refugee, it certainly is.
Completely agree. But if the question is Rwanda a safe enough country for these people to go to? Absolutely it is.
All right, thank you very much.
Not what the United States says.
That was Reem Ibrahim there, and then that was former Labour writer and advisor Scarlett Maguire. Reem, of course, a political commentator. Thank you very much to both of you. I mean, some studies, folks, said that actually Rwanda's capital city is more safe than London, so make of that what you will.